Okay, folks, I see that our very special guest has joined us. Can we all do a couple of wee technical things for me? Can you make sure you go to the top left-hand side of your screen and activate the switch to active user for me, please? Excellent. Okay. So, welcome everybody, and a very, very special welcome to our guest for this evening, Mark Billingham. Just so you know, Mark, we have cadets and adults from across the Glasgow and Lanarkshire area on today, and also somebody from one of the adults from Saudi Arabia, where he's currently in lockdown. So it's a truly eclectic and international audience that you have. In terms of structure for everybody, Mark has agreed to be with us up to 1955 hours, when we've all got to go off if we choose to do so in Clark for Carers, and I know he's got other things to do tonight as well. I don't want to take up too much time. Make sure that throughout all of this you are mute. We'll get to a point where there will be questions and answers, and at that point you can unmute yourself to ask those questions. I've got a few questions that have been submitted in advance that I'll get to first, but other than that, Mark was very clear to me in his desire to keep this as unstructured as possible, and everybody feels free to contribute as much as they possibly can during the time that we've got with them. I've personally been a long time admirer of Mark. I read his book some time ago, The Hard Way, and I would recommend that to anybody, and it describes quite an extraordinary life, well led. And I think my admiration comes both from the commitment he's shown to serving his country to the extent that he did, but also to his charity work. And I hope that at some point during this evening he can touch on that a bit and tell us a bit more about that. When I contacted Mark, and it was quite a circuitous route that we got in contact through, and I asked him to do this, there was absolutely no hesitation on his part. And I think he came back within about 5 minutes saying he'd be delighted to do this. And I think that belies his admiration for the cadet force, having been an ex-cadet himself. And I'm sure he'll go on to talk a little bit more about that. So enough from me. Over to you, Mark. I think you need to unmute yourself, Mark.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, hey everybody. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you guys. It's an absolute pleasure, honestly. Firstly, I want to say thank you to Kenny and his instructors and team from 5 Platoon. For this is what cadets is about. This is what the military sort of life is about. It's about perseverance. It's about making things happen. Not just say you're going to do it and then it doesn't happen. Kenny, he got onto me and he kept on to me and he kept saying, and I needed that. That's what I need. That's how I roll. So thank you, Kenny, and great job, mate, for persevering and making this happen. I'm really pleased to be able to speak to the cadets. I'll try and slow it down because I know my English accent, when I get excited, I jump back into my school days of a Brummie from Birmingham, for anybody that doesn't know what a Brummie is, and no one understands me at all unless you watch Peaky Blinders, of course. Anyway, so I'll just tell you a little bit of background about me, which some of you will be able to relate to, I'm sure. And I'll talk about the cadets and how that came about and why and what that means to me. It still does mean a lot to me, believe it or not. And then I'll just give you a sort of spin through a part of my life, and then we'll open it up to questions, because I always think it's great to have some interaction from people and get those questions going. Can everybody still hear me? Kenny, you've gone off the screen. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we still hear you. Definitely.
Okay,
carry on.
Sorry. Cool. Okay, so guys, I was brought up in the West Midlands, in England, central England, in a council estate. I came from a very poor family. It was a poor area. There was a lot of problems. There was a lot of, not so much drugs back then. There was gang warfare. There was all that sort of carry on going on. It was a bad place. There was a lot of interracial problems and all that sort of stuff. I came from a family of 5, older brother, older sister, younger brother, younger sister, and I was the middle child. And anybody who's got a middle child, or if you are a middle child, you'll know we are different. And I was different. At the age of 9, I started going rogue. I was getting in trouble in a gang. I was stealing. I was doing all sorts of bad things. And I was going very wayward. My parents couldn't control me because, like I said, I came from a poor family and they were both working 12-hour shifts. Mum would work all through the day, 6 till 6 at night. And then dad would go to 6 till 6. And that went on and on and on. So he couldn't control me. And I went a little bit rogue. I was getting in trouble. Then I got introduced to boxing at the age of 9. And it was an old man that I'd attacked and stole something from, which I talk about in my book. And the reason I want to mention this is because it all comes round to one big circle where at the end, I become that old man, is where I am now. So I stole this hat and the old man chased me and caught me, which no one ever caught me before because I was so fit and fast and these were old men. But he caught me, and rather than give me a slap around the head and a good hiding, he said to me, look, there's something about you. I want you to come to a boxing gym. And it was illegal. I was 9 years old. So I went to a boxing gym and he taught me all about boxing, what it meant. It was all about discipline and respect and anticipation and being one step ahead. And he taught me a word or a phrase of always a little further. This is absolutely true. And he used to say to me, no matter what you feel, you can always go a little bit further. Never give up and always do that. And I never ever forgot that. And as true to this day, it's part of the prayer of the SAS, which I found, you know, later on in life when I joined the SAS. And that's my mantra today, always a little further, because that's what you can do. So I was this little kid and I was going through some troubled times. And then one day my brother came home and he said, hey, I've joined the Cadets. And I said to him, what's the Cadets? And he said, it's a miniature military thing. It's an army. There were Marines, actually, Marine Cadets. I said, I'll have a look at that. And I went down there at the age of 11 and I absolutely loved it. I gravitated to it straight away. I gravitated towards the elder people that were running it and the instructors because they were disciplined and there were no nonsense. They didn't take any of my bull crap that I was giving out and thinking I was tough because I wasn't. And what else I liked about it was I wasn't very academic. And if I look back now, I kind of regret the way I went at school. At school, I wasn't learning anything. I was naughty. I was in trouble. I was never really went to school. I was jumping out the school windows. I was playing truant. I was doing all these terrible things, putting my mum and dad through hell, which was not good. But I joined the Cadets and I realized the Cadet instructors didn't take any of that rubbish from me. They disciplined me. They punished me for where I went wrong in the right manner and they wouldn't have it. And I liked it. And I thought, this is what I need. I need this structure. And I found it. And the other thing I found was, what I was learning in the Cadets was real. I was learning how to do first aid. And I could relate to how this is going to help me in life. And I could use it every day. And I couldn't understand why I needed to learn, you know, apostrophes and full stops. And it didn't make sense to me in school. But this made sense to me. How to save someone's life. How to help someone. Then I learned how to read a map. How to navigate, and I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed it. I thought, I know I'll use this for my life, and I knew. I think at that very early age, it set my destiny to where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the military. I didn't know which part of the military at this stage. Although I was a Marine Cadet, I knew I wanted to be in the Cadets. And the main instructor was a guy called Matt Cornton. He's probably the equivalent to your Kenny, the Lieutenant Kenny Bowen, and Mac was very, very influential in my life. And again, like I say, he didn't take any rubbish. He told me as it was. He made me learn and he made me repeat it and do it till it became muscle memory, learning how to strip a weapon, learning how to do drill, learning how to do first aid, navigate, all these skills. And believe it or not, those skills I carried all the way through my military career. And I'll jump forward slightly. So I spent 6 years in the Cadets, in the Marine Cadets. I went on courses, I got challenged. And what I really loved about it, it was teaching me discipline, as I've said, taught me respect. It taught me history, how, you know, mainly through military sort of history and wars and why and how and why we celebrate and why this all sort of happens. It taught me camaraderie. It taught me how to look after myself, my friends, and people around me and around my community. And I became a better person for it. But also, it challenged me. They sent me on courses. You know, I had to go to RMR Liverpool. I'd never even been out of Warsaw, so traveling was an experience to me. I went out there and I was tested with another bunch of kids for 5 days on all the military skills that you learn, weapon training, drill, field craft, all this sort of stuff. And it really made me sit down and work hard and want to do and be something. And that really was the foundation for my life thereafter. And my book's called The Hard Way, and that was the hard way. It was hard, it was tough, but I knew I wanted to do it and I had to do it. So where the cadets helped me later on in life was I joined the parachute regiment in 1982 after serving 6 years with the cadets, and I became one of the first sergeant majors of the cadets. And I only found out today, because I still try and keep in touch with how they're getting on back there, that they're still winning all the drill competitions every year since we left. And I left in, you know, the early 80s, and the young kids today are still doing the same sort of thing, which is great to hear. And I'm going to try at some stage and get back involved with the young cadets once I get more time on my hands. So when I joined the parachute regiment, I was already, without realizing, 2 steps ahead of everybody, because I knew all the basic soldiering stuff that you do in cadets. It's the same in the army. It's the same in the SAS. It's just a different environment and a different sort of adaptation that you use wherever you are and what you're doing. But the skills were there. So when kids were learning how to use a set of messings, how to strip a weapon down, I already knew it. How to do drill, how to sort of iron my uniform, all these simple things you take for granted. I was already in a great space and already well ahead of everybody else. So my time in depot was made easy that way. It was still very hard and very challenging. Bearing in mind, I think I was 16 and a half, 17 years old when I joined, and everybody else were like 18, 19, 20. And this is the first time, believe it or not, talking of Scotland, I met proper Scottish guys and these big, airy, moustached guys with tattoos with this deep voice. And I was like, what am I doing? I'm out of my depth. But I was able to hold my own because of all the knowledge and the skills and the past of being in the cadets. So I had all this already helping me. Where they were still trying to learn it, I was already way through it and concentrating on what was going to be difficult to me later on. And one of them, believe it or not, was education. Because I suffered with my school days as a young kid, which was wrong to do, looking back now, obviously. When I got into the parachute regiment, I had to do extra time of an evening learning maths, learning English, which I should have done a long time ago. So that was where I was putting all my concentration now, because I was already, like I say, with everything that I'd learned in the cadets, I was already steps ahead, way ahead, and I was helping everybody else. And you become popular for that because you've got the answer to certain things. Obviously, you learn a lot more in the military, different weapons, different tactics, but generally, what you learn in cadets is very, very much the same as what you do in the paras, and exactly the same when I went to the SAS. All those skills I'd learned back from the days of cadets, and you never lose that. So when you're taught at that early age, it becomes muscle memory. And again, like I say, the only thing different to it is you adapt bits and pieces to it to adapt to the environment and the situation that you're in. So I did 6 years in the cadets, like I said, sergeant major, and I went into the parachute regiment. I went through depot, and there was 70 of us started and 7 of us finished, 7 originals. And after that, I was champion recruit, and then I went on to join the 3rd Battalion, the parachute regiment. Amazing bunch of guys, and joined them in Belize, Central America. And again, I was a young kid learning. I was right at the bottom of the pile, learning from all these experienced people. And most of them had all been to war in the Falklands. So they knew what they were talking about. They're very experienced people. And again, I found a lot of the skills I'd learned through the cadets would be used right there and then. But it was an amazing time, and I had a great time with the parachute regiment. You know, I saw conflict with them. I went to war zones with them. I went to Northern Ireland. I worked in Cyprus on the UN tour, all that sort of stuff. So it was all building this knowledge and experience, and it was great. And I'll tell you now, just like the cadets, there are a lot of periods of boredom, but there's great periods of learning, having fun, camaraderie, and being tested. And that was the thing that kept me going and giving me the buzz. And it was exactly the same through the paras. Did all that time, did time in 3 para. Then I went back to the depot as an instructor for 2 years. And then finally I decided I want to step up a little bit more and do something different. And I went to the SAS. So I then, after 9 years with the paras, I went to join the SAS. Again, I remember, just like I did in the cadet days, looking around and thinking, ooh, these are all bigger and tougher than me. I turned up for selection, SAS selection, and there was, I think it was 280, but don't quote me on that. I might be a little bit exaggerated there. People turned up, and I remember looking down the line thinking, everybody looks fitter, everybody looks better, everybody does this. But from my mentality of what I've been taught through the cadets, through the paras and onwards, I thought, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to give it a go, and I'll push it as far as I possibly can. And I did. And anyway, towards the end of selection, again, that number 7 comes back again. Out of 280 of us that started, 283 of us that started, 7 of us finished, and I was one of those 7. And again, you know, all those experiences, all that knowledge. And then from selection, I then joined B Squadron 22 SES, which was formed by a Scotsman, Sir David Stirling. And I went to Mountain Troop B Squadron, and I always say 17, 18 years. It was probably more like 23 years with them. And an amazing career. I was fortunate enough. In the military, you always want to be tested. You know, you want to go to conflict, you want to go to war. But as much war as I got involved in, which is not pleasant to be around, and you soon learn that, I did a lot of stuff for natural disasters and all that sort of stuff. I used all that experience going right back from my childhood, cadets and all that, around the globe to do amazing things with amazing people. And I was fortunate enough to do hostage release, you know, freeing hostages, to capturing war criminals, to saving lives, to doing ridiculously unbelievable things, including being involved at such an high level and changing policies, world policies, changing government policies, influencing our government on how we should do things and not. And the key thing I always remember about that was, I was a bad kid from a poor estate. I left school with no education, no knowledge, and yet there I was in a position able to influence the whole of our country and some parts of the world, which is true, and it's exactly what you do. And again, that foundation came right back from where you guys are now with the cadets. So it's about, I think the lesson I'm trying to say to you is, believe in yourself, enjoy what you're doing, embrace it, take everything from it, learn these lessons, and somewhere down the line, I will guarantee you, these will fit into your life. You'll use them, whether you join the military or not join the military. Just the way you act, the way you treat people, the way you do things, the way you think. You learn the orders process. You analyze a situation, and better than most people, you look at a problem, and I always say this is, no matter what the problem is, how bad it is, there is always an option. And having been in the military, that's what they teach you. Find a way around it. And you dig deep, you dig hard, and you persevere, and you get around it, and you get it done. So you'll take that from where you are now with the cadets and all that, and you'll use it in your civil life or your military life, whatever you choose as you go forward. So embrace it. So guys, in fact, I'll just flick on a little bit more. So I did all this time. I did the time in the SAS, as you know, and I left the SAS, and then I got involved in security in Iraq as a private contractor. I did all that crazy stuff. I also learned about charity, and I got involved in charity, and I've always known about charities to a degree, probably like you guys do as well. You know, we all raise money for cancer by going for a run, or we do this, or we put money in, you know, on planes, you put money in those little pockets for UNICEF and all that stuff, but we never really understand what it's about. No, I didn't neither until I went to Haiti. And when I was in Haiti, when I met my wife, that's where I really understood what charity was about. And charity is about giving. It's about giving knowledge initially, and resources such as food, water, first aid. Then there's only one thing you do give with charity, and that's dignity. And it's about giving people that are suffering the dignity and the chance to stand back on their own 2 feet, because nobody wants to be given handouts all their life. People want to be able to do it and provide it for themselves. And us as fortunate people are able to be able to do that for people less fortunate. And I learned that in Haiti. And that's where my charity is. It's a free phase sort of operation what I work in now, where I raise money and awareness for deprived kids. When I say deprived, these kids don't have a place to live in. They definitely don't have any education. They're literally surviving. So we sort of get these kids, put them into a school program, pay for their schooling, get them their uniforms. And if they persevere and want to do it and show willing, we help them along and get them through a complete education system. They do qualifications and they do the whole thing just like we do in the UK. And then after that,
No, do you think? No. I want.
No, I was actually going to say something.
Are you still there?
Yeah, we're still here. Just somebody's come on, not muted their line. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so just to elaborate and finish on that. So the next phase I do is if the kids go through the whole school program that we support and raise money for and awareness, then they go into a job training program that we run, and that can run for a year or two as well. And when I say job training, it's not like you would there in Scotland or in England. It's not the job training that we know. It's these kids don't know how to hold a set of scissors. They don't know how to draw a straight line. They get taught all this. They get taught how to drive. They get taught engineering stuff. And then if they can do all that, then the next phase they go into is a proper job. We give them a job. And it's that turnkey solution to ending poverty. You know, give the people, and that's what I say. That's what I've learned about charity. It's dignity. Give these people dignity. And, you know, and a wild example, if you can imagine, you know, up there in Glasgow, if there was an earthquake and people come in to help you, which you're grateful for, of course, initially. But then after a period of time, the last thing you want is you stood there as a parent and somebody else giving your child toys to play with, because the kid's looking at you going, Mom, Dad, why are you not doing this? And you're thinking, why can't I do that for my kid? And I learned that quick. And even today, you still get people, you know, 10 years after the earthquake, turning up and giving away T-shirts and toys, and it's not what's needed. It's about giving people a chance to stand on their own 2 feet. So that, in a nutshell, is my sort of charitable side of life and how I got into that. So and that was all learned through being in the military, being in conflict zones, and realizing in a conflict zone, 99% of the people don't want to be in any conflict. These people suffer, you know, and it's hard. But you will see how grateful and how great people are. You know, I've been in places like Bosnia when it's smashed to the ground virtually, and people will still give you whatever they got left, a bit of food, coffee, tea. And I learned all these lessons as I went through life. And as I left the military and I was in a position to do something about it, I started to do something about it. It's a great feeling. And that's what the military gives you as well. That's what the cadets gives you. You know, you as cadets, you've probably been out there raising money for the neighborhood or helping the old people or Poppy Day or whatever it is. And you're already getting ingrained into that. And it's a good thing, you know, to realize how fortunate you are and that you're there to help and give back. And the cadets gives you such a great advantage to everybody else, and knowledge and an understanding of how to deal with this sort of stuff. So I got into all the charity stuff, and I'm still into it today. And I've done, this week alone, I've done 5 different charities, from cancer to veterans out on the streets, which I think is terrible, to whatever, you know, and I'll always do that. So from there, you know, I left the military. I did the sort of corporate world, as I briefly spoke about. I did a charity, and then I, by whatever fortune, I ended up as a bodyguard for these celebrities. And I did, you know, a number of years looking after A-list celebrities, all these top people. You probably know Brad Pitt, Russell Crowe, Angelina Jolie, all these type of people. And again, I learned a lot from them. Same sort of thing. You know, it's not all about me. It's not all about them. It's about, okay, I'm in a position and to get a platform. And that's what I like about these people, that people don't understand. These people have a platform and they use it well, most of them, to help other people and give back. And then I was fortunate, I went from one side of a camera, being the bodyguard, to being on film. I did a film with Sean Penn called The Gunman, which was funny. It was enjoyable to me. Not something I sort of embraced too much, but I liked. And then I got involved in programs. I did a program called Unbreakable, which was pushing 8 civilians through the toughest regime to try and break them, because apparently they wouldn't be broke. But of course I broke them, but that's how it works. I took them to the jungle and did that sort of stuff. Being a military expert, they wanted a jungle environment, a desert environment, and I did the jungle. And I didn't really enjoy that experience. And then some years later, I got approached again to do SAS Who Dares Wins. And right from the go, I turned it down. I wasn't really ready for it. I didn't want to do it after my experience doing it before, sort of thing. But then after Series 1 went out, it was fine. I got approached again and decided I'll do it. So that's what I did. I went out, did it. And the reason I do it is because, one, I enjoy it. One, I miss the military camaraderie. I've got it with the boys there. We have a bit of fun, which you don't see on camera. So that's always there, and it's great. I enjoy the planning. I enjoy the sort of experience of giving my experience to people. I know that comes across from me a little bit aggressive sometimes, but it's about getting the best out of people. And again, that all comes back from my early days through cadets, the opportunities and chances I had to, and I feel like with the show, SES with Desmond, I get a chance to give back. Not just to celebrities, but to the other guys that come on the show. And everybody walks away from the show, the people that don't know, a better person. And I have so many real nice messages saying, you told me as it was. I've never been told like that before. The Sergeant Major's brief, as I call it. You know, this is how it happens. This is how it's done. And they walk away and they've enjoyed it and they've got great things from it. So in a nutshell, that's where we are and I am today. So I love talking to cadets. I love talking to schools. I love talking to people. You can't fit everybody in. And I think if one of the faults I do have is my administration is terrible. Kenny's kept me in check all week going, Billy, Thursday. And thank God you have, Kenny, because I probably would have slipped by the wayside and forgot, I forgot that. So my admin, believe it or not, after 30 odd plus years in the military, my administration is still not great. But I'm now in a position with the TV stuff that I've got and all the knowledge I've got from all my past. I have a great platform to reach out to people like you guys, cadets, and share that knowledge. And I'll tell you truthfully what was good about it, what was bad about it. And you take that away from me, because sometimes you'll feel like, you ain't going nowhere and it's not. Don't give up. The keys, do not give up, because everything, let me tell you this, right? Everything is judged by passage in time. You have such happy times, sad times, happy, and it goes like that, and it ain't going to change. So you've got to embrace that. And when you're having a bad time, just say to yourself, this is a passage in time. When you're in the cadets, you might be bored. You go, all right, it's boring now, but it's going to be fantastic. And whenever, it'll come along very, very quickly. So stick with it is what I'm saying. Stick with your schooling. Stick with what you're doing. Don't give up. And here's another tip for you as well, which I learned pretty quickly, was never be disrespectful. But when you get told by somebody in authority with respect, who's done something, says, you ain't going to do it, listen to what they're saying, take it on the chin, and then try and work a way around it and think, you know what, I'm not just going to take it that I can't do. I'm going to try. And at least try, but be respectful about it. Not to say that I proved you wrong, but to prove yourself right by going, you know what, I'm going to have a go for it anyway. And the reason I'm trying to say that is because one of the lessons you will learn is you'll go for goals. And people tell you this, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything. That's not true. You can't. But if you put your mind to it and you go for it, you will certainly be in a better place than where you started. By going for that goal, and that's what I've done. I've gone for so many goals in my life, and I've reached half of them if I'm lucky. But what happens is by going from other avenues open up. So that's how I went from leaving the military. Kind of all I knew was military, but then I was in the TV world, the celebrity world, the charity. And that was only going for goals that I was going for and didn't get to, but it opened up these avenues. So I'm sorry if I've gone on a little bit long and off at tangents, because that's what I do. But I think the best way, if you're happy, Kenny, and guys, unless you want to know more about certain things, I'm quite happy to elaborate on any of that. But if you want to fire away and ask questions, is there anything that you can relate to, or don't be shy is what I'm saying. Don't be shy to ask a question. No, how silly you might think it is or not silly, ask it. And if I can answer, I'll answer it, and I'll answer it honestly. And it'll be from the experience that I have. I might not be able to answer it because I might not have done what you're asking me to do. But so over to you, Kenny, and the team. And just final thing I want to say, what I found out as well was the Scots Guards. I am an honourable member of the Scots Guards. And the reason that came about, let me just tell you this. I got invited to the jungle in 2000. The Scots Guards were just coming off public duty, and the guys went back out to Jamaica. Was it Jamaica? No, Kenya, to do jungle warfare. So they asked for an SAS instructor. The guy who was going to go, I was parachuting with, broke his leg. So I said, I'll do it. I jumped on a plane, went out to join the Scots Guards, and I ended up running a jungle school for these guys. And they were fantastic. They were awesome, awesome blokes. Brilliant. So keen, because I've been on public duties, to get back into soldiering and get in there. And I had a great time, and I became great friends with all of them. And to that end, I stayed in touch with them, and they gave me a room down at Wellington Barracks where they used to, at the time, work from. And I became an honourable member to them, to the Scots Guards. And to this day, I still stay in touch with them through their ex-sergeant major. So that's me in a nutshell. So please feel free to fire away and ask questions, and I'll answer as many as I possibly can.
Cheers, Billy. That was absolutely fantastic, and incredible to hear. Incredible to hear how your cadet experience has carried right through your life. That's just utterly amazing.
It's true, Kenny. Absolutely true.
We've got a number of questions that were submitted in advance, and I'm going to maybe if I can just touch a couple of them, get the things going, and then the way we'll do this, folks, is if you unmute yourself, you can ask a question, or perhaps put your hand up. I think Lieutenant Jack will probably be able to organise that for you. So the first one, and I'm going to take host prerogative. I'm going to be quite selfish and ask a question for myself, because I heard this question being put to one of your. Ms. McLeod, can you put your volume, your microphone off, please? You're on the screen. So I heard one of your colleagues from the TV show ask this question today, and he was asked, do you think you're still fit enough to pass selection?
I ain't gonna lie, I'm actually quite fit for my age. My wife said I'm 54.
What?
She does that every time. No, I'm not. It's just physically impossible now. Not just the physical side of it, because the SES selection is a physical part and then a physical mental part. That's really selection. That's the jungle. The jungle, I wouldn't even want to attempt anymore. The way it's run from selection, it is brutal. It's hard. So the bottom line, the answer is no. I would definitely give it a good go. I'm pretty sure I could smash some of the times over the hills. It's just the continuity, because you get a build up and then you're into it, for, I think it's 2 weeks solid. It's day after day after day, and it gets longer, harder. You're navigating on your own. So there's all those skill sets. The navigation ain't a problem. It's just, I don't think my body would be able to do it. And in fact, I know it wouldn't. I went out today, hill walking, and I come back and my knees tend to swell up a little bit. They're kind of worn out. So the answer is, if I'm truthful, no, I wouldn't. And if I'm very honest, and I could be wrong, I don't think any of us, Foxy, Oleant, or Jay, maybe Jay's particularly sharp and fit. I don't know. I don't know though.
The
answer for me is no.
It was Foxy who was asked the question. He said yes. So there you go. You can take it with him yourself.
You're listening, Foxy. No, you don't. No, you won't. Maybe you will.
Cadet Jorgensen from 5 Platoon Scots Guards, he's got a question for you. I think it's a really good one, actually. What techniques have you used to conquer your fear rather than let it dominate you?
I'll tell you what, it goes right back to the cadet days and the boxing days, being told, look, don't be afraid to have a go. You'll end up in a situation where you've got to make a decision. You can't just bury your head and let it go over your head. So face it. So I've always been told, face it. Whatever that fear or problem is, face it and have a go at it. And don't be afraid to be knocked back, and then try again, and then try a different route until you get around it. It's all, as I said from the start, it's a passage in time. So the techniques is take a breath, stay calm, get the facts, and find a way of attacking it and getting around it. And that sounds easy, or it might not sound easy, but that's the only way to do it. What you can't do is walk away from it when you don't need to walk away from it and pretend, because you'll continue to do that. And that's not the way to do it, because you can do it. You'll surprise yourself. I surprise myself no end of times, from being on a battlefield to being in school to whatever I'm being taught. And a crazy example here is I always remember within the regiment, you get put on a medical course and you're almost qualified, believe it or not, in 10 weeks to the standards of a doctor. Not all the knowledge of it, but how a body's like a car. When it breaks, you got to fix it. So you work out how, why, this. And then I got invited along to a thing called a faculty weekend. And it was at the John Ratcliffe Hospital. And all the best doctors from all over the world, all over the UK, Scotland, were all there. And then this one sort of head guy puts up a question on the board. And he goes, well, not question, it's sort of a diagnosis. He goes, this casualty has got, almost stopped breathing, chest pains, this, all this. And then you've got to come out with the answer. Who comes out with the answer? And I had my hand up before everybody. And I looked around thinking, I'm a soldier. These are doctors. So I put my hand down. I was scared. But he'd already seen me. And he looked at me and I thought, I can't bottle out of this. And I was taking a breath thinking, I'm going to make a fool of myself here. And I thought, I'm going to go for it. And I put my hand up and I went, it's tension pneumothorax. And he went, absolutely. Straight away. And I got it. And it wasn't luck. I knew it. But he was just having that courage and conviction of just go for it. And that's kind of what I'm saying to him. So that's the kind of what I've learned is don't be afraid to be knocked back a bit. Don't be afraid to getting it wrong, because that's how we learn. So go for it, is what I'm saying. That's the thing. And the guy, Matt Gaunt, who ran the cadets, who was kind of equivalent to you, Kenny, always said to me, he says, don't be afraid. It's better to ask a stupid question than to make a stupid mistake. And not to say it's a stupid question, but just go for it. And he did. And he took a while, but then I got it. And I ain't afraid to do it. But I'm also not stupid enough to repeat it and repeat it. I'll learn from how it went. And that's what it's all about.
Superb. I've got one here from Sergeant Adams. Have there been any contestants on the show that you think would actually have the physical and mental ability to have completed selection?
It's always a very difficult to answer, Sergeant Adams, but what I'll say is this. I'll judge it really on the physical side of it. The jungle's a different beast for anybody. You know, there's so much to the jungle side of it. But on the physical side, I'll say there's probably a few that could have done it. Wayne Bridge, who won the first one. Some of the women were pretty, you know, good, as you've just seen on the, you know, Lauren Steadman, AJ on the one before that. These were tough people. So I would say, if you judge the first part of selection as in the hills, I think there'd be a few that could get over the hills, as long as they can navigate. Because on this show, they don't have to navigate. Navigate's a big part of it. If they can navigate physically, yes. Mentally, yes, for that physical phase. Phase 2, the jungle, if I'm very honest, I'd probably say no.
Okay. Another one here from Cadet Faulkner. This is a good one. I like this one. Any good stories about Hulk Hogan?
How do you know about that? Anyway, yeah, I can tell you. That's funny because I talk about my bodyguarding stuff and how I got involved in all that sort of stuff. But the first person I looked up after was Hulk Hogan, believe it or not. And I was probably, how old was I? I was in the parachute regiment at the time, so it was kind of illegal that I was doing it. It was one of these weekends off where, hey, who wants to come help us do this? And what it was, Hulk Hogan had come over for the World Wrestling thing, and he needed security, bodyguards, just to keep people away from, not because he can't protect himself. I mean, the guy was like 7 foot and 3 foot across. He was huge and a lovely guy, by the way. So, yeah, and the funny story to that was, I remember meeting him for the first time, and I'm looking up at him. And back then, I was in the parachute regiment. I probably only weighed about 10 stone. I was fit, and I was, you know, felt confident. But I remember looking at this monster of a man, and him looking at me, and he must have thought, he's my bodyguard. He's either crazy or he's hard as nails. And he couldn't work it out. So I kept him guessing. You know? So if I said jump, he'd jump. So he listened and did everything I said. And it was just, again, I guess, here we go, from cadets, from military. It was confidence. It was showing that this is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. And he listened to everything I did, and he was brilliant. And again, that's also respect. He respected me, I respected him. But I remember on the night he was coming down to the ring and show how strong this guy was. So we're stood there behind this big curtain thing, and the light, it's all going to go up, all the lights and all this stuff, and he's going to come down to the ring. And there was these two ladies, beautiful ladies, both of about 6 foot tall themselves, and heavier than I was. And I was sort of off to the side just to make sure nobody run up to grab him or all this stuff. And just before we were about to walk down, he literally, one hand each, he just picked these women up and just sat them on his shoulder and walked down. And everybody then looked at me and goes, well, if he can do that, what can he do? Oh, I thought, oh, this is great. But yeah, so that was a funny story with him, was how respectful he was. He was a lovely guy as well. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. Okay, another one here from Cadet Burnett Green. And another interesting one. Who are your heroes and who inspires you?
I mean, I say heroes inspires me. My mum and dad did. People who actually go out and do stuff inspire me. You know, people who, like my wife runs a charity out in Haiti, which is against all odds. But I just watched her build all that and go for it. So that inspires me. People like, you know, Lauren Steadman on the last, I mean, she's one hell of a beast of an athlete, but her mindset is amazing. You know, she had the disability with the arm. That was no disability. She was amazing. She you know, inspires me. People like that. In the sort of celebrity style world, Clint Eastwood, who I met, not because he's Clint Eastwood, because of how humble and nice the man is. You know, and again, it's just like you and I. He ain't afraid to talk to anybody. He's not one of these, you're not talking to me because I'm a celebrity, or he's brilliant. And he generally just passes on such a great vibe. And I remember working with him and watched him talking to the cleaners, to the security, to everybody, and he treated every single person exactly like he'd like to be spoken. And I just thought that is just amazing. And it wasn't for show; it was real. So people like that inspire me. Real people with a good heart who try to do the right thing inspire me.
Superb, superb. Another one from Sergeant Major Roger, who's off to Sandhurst shortly when she finishes at college. And this is quite an interesting one for everybody who's seen the series. Where do the contestants go when they go through that gate? So the ones that are unsuccessful.
You know what? That's a good question. We don't see them after that. I think what happens to them, they get put into a vehicle. In that case, up in your neck of the woods, guys, up in Scotland, he went through the gate, into a vehicle, across to the ferry, on the ferry, across and into an hotel, and then back on a flight home to wherever he came from. It's literally gone. They get one night, they go to see the doctor, get checked out, then they go get their equipment, and they're off. They're gone. So we don't see them after that minute, at that time, gone. That's it. We don't have anything else to do with them.
Okay, brilliant. Another one which I think is really important, particularly in the circumstance that we find ourselves at the moment, and I know from following you on Facebook, this is really important to you. Could you give some of the cadets, maybe, if they have going to spend 20 minutes on their fitness every day, what would you recommend?
Right, 20. If you're only going to do 20 minutes, I would say first 5 minutes. I'll say 20 minutes, 2 minutes at least, warm up. Just a loose, start and do it in a logical order, head to toe, little neck circles, up and down, shoulders, arms. So 2 minutes. This is a typical military warm up, as you'll probably know. So do a warm up. Then go for a jog, just a steady jog, just for 4 or 5 minutes. If it's only, half a K, few hundred meters, nice and steady. Then come back and then work a sequence. Arms, chest, stomach, legs. So press-ups to 10, 15, 20 press-ups. Sit-ups. So you're doing arms, chest, legs, do squats. Take a 30-second break, back into it again. Press them. And that sort of sequence, I call it sort of cobwebbing, blowing the cobwebs out. So that's what I do. But if you've only got 20 minutes to do that, then just do that. But I always feel, and I'm a little bit old-fashioned, and I don't want all these modern-day PTs emailing saying, that's the wrong way to do it. This is how I do it. All right? So I always start my fitness with a warm-up and a jog, road, walk and run. Because I found the road, walk and run is the foundation to all fitness. It gets your heart and lungs kicked in. It gets your mind ticking over right, gets you in the right frame of mood, gets the blood going around the body. So you're ready and you're warmed up, although you've done a bit of stretching. So that's what I do. And try and do at least a little bit of stretching at the end, a couple of minutes at the end, just to stretch. And then, again, logical order, head to toe, just to stretch off. So that, if it was only 20 minutes, that was what I'd do. If you get more time, then double it, double your run, double your sequence of training. And you don't need a gym. You don't need it. Your body's a gym. And you'll know it's uncomfortable. All the real good exercises, such as pull-ups, you can pull up from a tree branch, from a fence. It's hard, but it's good for you. So it's about use what you've got.
Brilliant stuff. Interesting one from one of the battalion adults, actually. I know from the book that you didn't get into the military at first time of asking. And that's a very familiar story to many of us who have cadets that have gone forward to the military, particularly these days. What inspired you to try? That's from Lieutenant Jack.
What inspired me to keep going?
Yeah, to try again and persevere.
Like as I've said right from the start, just don't give up. Go again. I remember my school teacher Kenny, right, saying to me, because I was a rogue kid at the age of 13, I left school, which far from proud of. But he got me just before I sort of went truant out of school completely. And he said, look, you're a waste of space. What are you going to do with your life? And I remember saying to him, I'm going to go in the army. And he says, okay, what if you don't get in the army? I went, I'm going to go in the Navy. What if you don't get in the Navy? I'm going to go in the RAF. What if you don't get in the RAF? I'm going to go in the Merchant Navy. I knew even back then, I had such a hardcore of feeling I want to go into the military. Now, don't get me wrong. There might be a reason why you can't get into the military, because it might be a medical reason or in the full time. But again, don't give up. Try and find a way around it. Join the TA. Get involved with cadets again. It's the same sort of thing. It's not a full lifetime, but as in a job. But it just, the best bits ever from the military side of anything was the camaraderie and meeting such great people and learning such great skills. And you can learn all that through the cadets as well. So I think the answer to his question is just don't give up. Literally don't give up. Take it back. And it does. You go, I've got to I literally had to go. I think I mentioned in the book, I had to go every 2 weeks to be weighed and check my feet because I damaged my feet in caustic soda, you know, and acid and stuff. So, and I already knew that. It knocked me back 12 months. And then in that period of while I was waiting and still trying to get fit, but I couldn't train because I was injured and trying to put weight on because I was too light, I was starting to lose a bit of hope. But then I just felt, no, I want this. I'm going to do this. I've set my mind. I'm going to do it. And I kept persevering. And I just never give up on it. Just keep going for it.
Leading on from that question, Billy, so that there's an adult instructor who is keeping in contact with one of his kids going through, well, not going through basic training at the moment because everybody's been returned from Harrogate at the moment. He's finding a particular problem with tabbing and particularly around about his feet. Any tips for him?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know what the problem might be. You might be getting shin splints. And I'll tell you what the problem isn't. It's not the equipment. Unless you are wearing it wrong. People send me messages all day long, which Bergen do you carry? Like it's going to make it easy. It doesn't matter. Whatever the Bergen is, just fit it correctly. Whatever boots you've got, make sure they are fitted correctly. I remember, you know, we wore, you might remember these kind of DMS boots. They were basically compressed cardboard. That's what the guys went to war in the Falklands with. They're not great, but so I'd just say, make sure your equipment is good enough, as in it fits, and it's adjusted and carried properly. And if you're carrying weight in a Bergen, make sure it's on the top end, on the shoulders, so it's not dragging in the small of your back. So that's the first thing. If you start to get an injury or you find it difficult to get into a rhythm, take a step back. Okay, for example, what I'll say is if you walk tabbing, as you just mentioned, you should never be running uphill with weight on. Okay, you'll see people doing it, and I have done it myself now and again. But that's not what you want to be doing. If you're going to be running with weight on your back and in boots, let the momentum of the terrain take you. So if it's gently going downhill, then you can run. Let the momentum take you. Don't overforce it. Go along the flat. And when you start to feel the pain in your shins, slow down. Break it down into a speed walk, then break it down into a slow walk. And then you can make up the time again as you get onto the downhill. And all that's it. When you're going uphill, stride out. Take bigger strides so you're stretching out more. And over a period of time of doing it, and again, do smaller distance. Start with 3 or 4Ks, then do 5Ks, 6Ks. And all I'd say about that is, do it at a pace that you feel comfortable. You feel challenged, but you feel comfortable. Don't try and, win the gold medal straight away, because you won't, and you'll just get disappointed and you'll get injured. So go slow, go steady, get out onto, what I would say is get onto the mountains or the hills, and instead of running down roads and all the rest of it, just go slowly, plodding. And you'll find the endurance and your legs get sort of ill prepared, as in ill climbing hills. And you'll soon, before you know it, then get back onto the flat and you'll sail along. So go slow, equipment first, don't blame it, adjust it, get it to fit you. And if you can't get the right, and it's not about expensive boots and expensive Bergens, it doesn't matter. Just get the kit to fit you properly, pack it properly, wear it properly. Don't look for excuses. The only excuses is in here, and then get out and go steady. Go at what you're ready for. Just because your mate might be doing 10Ks in 20 minutes, which if he is, well done, I mean, you need to be doing it, So go at your pace, get into that rhythm of feeling comfortable, getting the momentum of moving forward and all that sort of stuff. And it comes slowly, and you'll get it. You will get it. It will feel like you ain't going to get it in one day. You ain't going to get it in 1 week. 2-3 weeks, you'll soon get it. But I would advise, get to the bottom of the hill and go slowly. You'll get more out of doing that, plodding up and down the hills, zigzagging sideways, all the way up to the top. The strength and the endurance you'll get in your legs and your back and your shoulders is better than running 4 or 5Ks down the flat. I'll tell you that right now.
Superb.
That's my tip.
I have to say, in my own experience with DMS boots was knowing my dad was home for his tea because they were sitting behind the back door. But
all right, I'm a bit older than that. Okay.
So another really good and interesting one, and I think it relates to a lot of what you said. But Cadet Jorgensen's interested to know can a person with a fear of heights be trained to become a paratrooper?
I hate heights, and I was mountain troop SAS, and I was a paratrooper. Yes, you can. The answer to that is yes, you can. And I'll tell you, this is a bit of a great question. It's a shame you ain't got Foxy. And Foxy hates heights. He's petrified of them. But again, he just, you know, go for it. Just do what you need to do sensibly, keep your safety, and go for it. Don't be afraid of it, and just keep pushing forward. The answer to that question is yes, you can. Jumping out of a plane isn't about heights. Because I'll tell you, once you get in the plane, you've got so many other things going on in your head. There's the noise of the plane, the doors open, the wind, your equipment, your safety. By the time you've got all that squared away, you're already in the sky, and you're safe, and the parachute's open, and it's great. It's like being a bird. It really is. You know, and if you don't like it, like me, I always tell people, you know, I've done hundreds and hundreds of jumps, and I say they're all night jumps. And they go, how can they all be night jumps? I'll tell you why they're all night jumps, because I close my eyes when I go out that door. Because I don't want to see what's out there until I feel that pull on my shoulders. So, yeah, you can, mate. So don't give up. Don't worry about
it. Last one, I think, unfortunately. And again, it's an interesting one, not just from a cadet perspective, from a life perspective. What do you think is the best way, and this question's asked in the context of your role as a close protection specialist, what's the best way to win people's trust and confidence?
Honesty. Honesty. Once you start to try and bluff someone and they catch on to it, everything you do there after and everything you've done before, they won't trust anymore. They lose that confidence. So when you don't know the answer to something, tell them that. You don't make out that you can ninja fight 10 people running at you, because you probably can't, you know. And so just be very honest about what you can do, what you can't do. And that's the first part of it. The second part is know your strengths and weaknesses. Don't try and pretend you are a rally driver when you're not, and start rallying the car around, because you'll end up frapping it or turn it over or do something stupid. So just be honest and up front, and trying to come up with solutions and thinking outside of the box. Don't go robotic. Look for ideas without being crazy about the whole thing. But yeah, so honesty and integrity, and just, you know, and knowing your capabilities. And it worked for me. I mean, I remember everybody I've worked with, you know, from Angelina Jolie to Sir Michael Caine to all, I just tell them exactly, this is what I can do. This is what I know. This is what I don't know. This is what I can't do.
Yeah.
And they've got it clear. You know, they might say to me, hey, Billy, can we maybe get us through that crowd there? Well, I'll go, actually, I'll look at it and go, can I? No, actually, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. But what I can do, I can maybe take us around that way and do this and do that. So come up with a solution and try and find a solution. But if there isn't one, there isn't one. But it's about being honest. We're saying it as it is. Be truthful. Be truthful. Don't try and bluff it. Because if you start bluffing, they're not stupid. And they'll go. And then they'll lose confidence, and then you're done.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, personally, I'll contact you out with this to thank you properly for this.
Have we run out of time, have we?
Yeah, we've run out of time, mate. Honestly, it's flown by. It's been absolutely fantastic. I'd like to ask our Commandant, Lieutenant McNamee, is on the line, and he would like to say thank you on behalf of the battalion. So I'll hand over to you, sir, but I will be in touch to speak to you personally.
Yeah, can I be in touch? Because maybe we could do a follow-up in a few months, just see how the cadets are getting on and who's left and who's joined the military, who's doing whatever. I'd be interested to know, and any feedback from the young guys. And maybe over the next few weeks, just send me a few questions that people are really wanting to know, and I can answer them over the email. Or text. Take care, Kenny. Great job that you're doing, the guys.
Thanks, Kenny. Thanks, Kenny. Even though you demoted me, but that's fine. We'll deal with that later.
Stand by for press-ups.
Billy, I just wanted to say thank you very much for giving the time to the guys in the battalion and giving them the advice that you did. Hopefully some of them will take that advice on board, and it will help them in their future careers, whether it be in the military or not. These guys, I know we could have went all night. There was maybe another 40 questions on the chat that didn't get asked.
Yeah.
It is what it is, and your time is obviously your time. And I'm pretty sure everybody wants to get out and clap for carers at 8 o'clock. But thanks again. We really appreciate, as a battalion, you coming on and talking to our guys.
I really appreciate the opportunity to do it, and honestly, I'm not joking. Once we start our tours again and moving around up Scotland, if you guys are there, I'd love, if you invite me along, I'd love to come along and say hi, and we could take it further.
I'm
But
sure Kenny will
appreciate
make sure
it,
that.
so. Cheers.
Thank you, Kenny.
Take care, guys. Everybody, thanks for the time.
Cheers now. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers,
Click off.
Bye,
That's
guys.
great.
Thanks.
Everybody off.
Bye. Bye, Maddie.